Aveline Cross had always believed in saving lives. Every heartbeat she protected, every child she revived, had been a testament to her skill, her perseverance, and her relentless dedication. But in one sterile hospital hallway in Boston, all of that was about to be tested. Gareth Mallon, a senior medic with a reputation for arrogance, glared at her across the room, his voice sharp and cold. "You're not qualified for this, Cross. Step aside before someone gets hurt." No one in the room could have imagined the storm brewing behind Aveline's calm eyes. The anger, the memory, the fire that had driven her through years of prejudice and doubt. What Gareth didn't remember, or refused to acknowledge, was that 10 years ago, in the same city, she had saved his son from certain death, performing a surgery that few could have dared attempt. Hey, make sure to watch until the end to discover how saving a child will lead to betrayal, heartbreak, and a shocking twist in her life. But before we dive in, I'd love to hear from you. Where are you watching from right now? Drop your city or state in the comments below. It means so much to connect with each of you, from every corner of the world, as we share this story together. Dr. Aveline Cross was only 29, but the halls of Cambridge Memorial already whispered her name like she was some kind of miracle. She moved with quiet confidence, her dark curls tied back, her blue scrubs crisp, her eyes sharp from years of fighting to be seen, respected, and taken seriously. People called her gifted. She called it survival. Morning rounds were supposed to be routine, but the hospital felt tight today, like everyone was waiting for something to explode. Nurses murmured about the new medic joining the emergency unit, a man with a reputation for being hard to work with, which, in hospital language, usually meant something uglier. Aveline ignored it. She had patience to see, lives to save. But then she saw him. Gareth Mallon, tall, pale, heavy-jawed, standing in the ER like he owned every inch of it. His eyes swept the room and stopped on her, and something cold flickered across his face. Aveline gave a polite nod. He didn't return it, not even close. Instead, he turned away with a dismissive snort, like acknowledging her wasn't worth the effort. Fine. She had work to do. A nurse hustled over. "Morning, Dr. Cross. You taking the neuroconsult in Bay 3? "Already on it," she said, grabbing the chart. Her mind switched instantly into surgeon mode. Fast, calm, focused. No time to waste on rude coworkers. Except Gareth stepped directly into her path. "You're Cross? The neurosurgeon they brag about?" he asked. His voice carried more skepticism than curiosity. Aveline kept her tone steady. "Yes. And you're Mallon, the new medic, right?" He lifted a brow. "I expected someone more experienced." Translation: someone older, someone male, someone not black. Aveline inhaled through her nose, refusing to react. Patients don't wait for experience to make introductions. "If you'll excuse me," he blocked her again. "Just hope you're not one of those surgeons who thinks they can handle everything." She didn't answer. She simply walked around him. The day moved fast after that, too fast. Patients poured into the ER back to back, and Aveline drowned herself in work, letting the steady beat of medical urgency silence Gareth's presence. But tension kept crawling along her spine whenever he passed, like a warning she couldn't explain. Then a nurse burst into the hallway, breathless. "Dr. Cross, we have a child coming in. Severe head trauma. ETA 30 seconds. Aveline hurried toward the trauma bay, tying her protective gown as she moved. Nothing mattered more than a child's brain in crisis. It was always a race against time. But when she reached the doorway, Gareth was already there, and he stepped right in front of her. "You're not entering," he snapped. "This is my unit, and I don't want you messing it up." Aveline froze. "A child is bleeding into their skull. I'm the neurosurgeon on call." I said no. "I don't trust your judgment." The trauma team hesitated, everyone stunned, no one wanting to challenge him. The ambulance doors slammed open outside. The child's screams pierced the hallway, and Aveline realized, with a jolt of horror, that Gareth Mallon was truly going to keep her from saving a life. If you're hooked by Aveline's story so far, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe for the full journey, and share this video with someone who loves powerful, emotional stories. Your support means the world and keeps these stories alive. Chaos punched through the hallway as paramedics rushed the child inside, shouting vitals. Blood soaked the little boy's hair, his eyes unfocused, his breathing shallow. Aveline stepped forward instinctively. This was her battlefield, and she knew exactly what needed to happen. But Gareth planted himself in her path like a wall made of anger and arrogance. I said step back, he barked. You're not qualified for this case. The room froze. Even the monitors seemed to hold their breath. Aveline's jaw tightened, but her voice stayed steady. I am the only neurosurgeon in this hospital who handles pediatric bleeds. Move. You're reckless, Gareth snapped. The hospital already warned me about you. People say you take unnecessary risks. I won't have you killing a child under my shift. The accusation sliced through the air, sharp enough to make a nurse gasp. Aveline didn't flinch. Not this time. Not with a child's life draining away by the second. She pushed past him. Not hard. Not aggressive. Just firm, decisive, and unstoppable. Prep for CT immediately, she ordered, placing her hands on the gurney. I want anti-seizure meds started, and get neurosurgery on standby. The staff moved instantly. They trusted Aveline. They'd seen her pull patients out of hell more times than they could count. Gareth stormed after her. You're disobeying me. And you're endangering a child. She shot back, already steering the gurney down the hall. If you want to argue, do it after he's alive. The trauma bay doors closed behind her, shutting Gareth out. Inside the CT suite, the boy lay trembling, blood trickling down his cheek. Something about him, a tiny Superman sticker stuck to his wristband, stabbed at Aveline's chest. She steadied her breathing. She'd been this child once. Not physically hurt, but watching her mother collapse from exhaustion, 3 jobs crushing her from the inside out. Aveline had been 8 years old when she realized doctors were the closest thing the world had to shield bearers. That day, she promised herself she'd save people the way no one ever saved her mother. And she had. Again and again. No one, especially someone like Gareth, would rip that purpose from her. The CT scan finished. Aveline scanned the images, heart pounding. Subdural hematoma. Rapid expansion. Get the or ready now. The team moved fast, almost grateful for the clarity she brought. But when Aveline stepped out of the CT room, Gareth was waiting. His face was red with fury, but his eyes held something darker. Fear? Ego? Hate? She couldn't tell. What you did was insubordination, he hissed. You undermined me in front of my team. I saved him, Aveline replied. You slowed us down. He leaned in, voice low and venomous. You think you're some prodigy? You're a risk, a liability, and I will not let you destroy this hospital's reputation. Aveline lifted her chin. I'm going to operate. That's the end of the discussion. He smiled, a cold, calculated smile. No, it's not. He held up a tablet. On the screen was a formal hospital complaint, already filled out, already signed. Effective immediately, Gareth said. I am requesting you be removed from this case. Aveline's breath caught, and for the first time in her career, she realized someone wasn't just trying to undermine her. They were trying to erase her. The conference room felt colder than the ER ever did. Aveline sat at the polished table, hands clasped tightly, facing 5 members of the hospital board. Their faces were stiff, unreadable, the kind of expression people wore when they'd already made up their minds. Aveline kept her posture controlled, but inside her heart pulsed like a drum. She had just saved a child's life. Yet here she was, being treated like a criminal. The chairman cleared his throat. Dr. Cross, we received a complaint stating you overstepped your authority and acted recklessly during a trauma intake. Gareth's words. His lies. Aveline inhaled slowly. I acted because the child had a rapidly progressing brain bleed. Seconds mattered. I followed protocol. One of the board members leaned forward. But the medic in charge says you endangered the patient. Aveline felt the humiliation burn under her skin. They weren't listening. They weren't even trying. He blocked me from providing critical care, she said. If I hadn't intervened, that child would already be dead. And we all know it. A long silence filled the room. Not agreement. Not support. Just tension. Finally, the chairwoman spoke, fingers steepled. Dr. Cross, your skill is not in doubt. But your temperament has been questioned before. Aveline blinked. By who? Anonymous reports, the woman replied. Anonymous. Meaning Gareth. Meaning anyone who didn't like a young black woman excelling where they believed she shouldn't. Aveline held her breath, fighting the pressure tightening in her chest. I am here to save lives. I don't care about credit. I don't care about politics. I care about that little boy. Please, let me do my job. The chairwoman looked away. We will review the complaint and determine responsibility. Until then, your involvement in the case is restricted. Restricted. A polite word for gagged. Aveline stood, quietly gathering her things. No one met her eyes, not even the members who usually praised her work. As she stepped out into the hallway, a wave of humiliation washed over her so strongly she had to lean against the wall. How many times had she fought this same battle? Doors closed. Expectations lowered. Her excellence dismissed as luck. Her mistakes magnified as proof. Not today. Her phone buzzed. A text. From an unknown number. He's in Boston. You should know. Aveline stared at the message, confused, until the next one came. Your father is back. Her breath caught. She hadn't seen him in almost 20 years. He had vanished after promising he'd return in a week. She never knew why he left. Only that the wound never healed. She shut her phone quickly, chest tightening again, but now for a different reason. Not today. She couldn't face that ghost today. A nurse sprinted around the corner, breath shaking. Dr. Cross. You need to come, now. Aveline straightened. What happened? It's the boy you admitted. He's crashing. The bleed expanded. The attending neurosurgeon is stuck in another OR. They said you're the only one who can operate. Aveline's pulse surged. But the board, they're looking for you, the nurse said, panicked. They want you in the OR immediately. Aveline didn't wait for another word. She ran. Because once again, a child's life depended on her hands. Aveline burst into the operating room already gloving up, her mind slicing through the panic like a blade. The nurses were scrambling, the anesthesiologist barking numbers, and the boy on the table was fading fast. His blood pressure dipped every second. His tiny chest rose and fell in weak, desperate attempts. Prep the craniotomy set, Aveline ordered. We're out of time. They snapped into action. Everyone here knew her, trusted her, counted on her. The moment she stepped up to the table, the chaos aligned into purpose. This was her world. She made the incision smooth and fast, parting scalp, controlling bleeding. Every movement precise, every breath measured. She worked like someone born for this moment, someone who had sharpened themselves against every obstacle placed in their path. The drill hummed. Bone dust drifted. Monitors beeped warnings. Aveline didn't flinch. As she lifted a section of the skull, a flash of memory cut through her. Her mother standing at the kitchen sink at midnight, hands raw from washing dishes at the hotel. Her mother sleeping in her uniform on the couch because she had to be up in 3 hours for shift number 2. Her mother whispering into Aveline's hair, "Baby, you will be more than this world expects of you. Don't let them shrink you." Aveline steadied her breathing. She wasn't doing this for pride. She wasn't doing this to prove Gareth wrong. She was doing this because a child deserved to grow up, something too many people in her own community never got the chance to do. Retractors, she said softly. The brain swelled outward, the hematoma large, angry, pressing dangerously on the child's speech and motor centers. The slightest error could end his future, or his life. But Aveline's hands remained steady, guided by years of relentless training and a fire lit long before medical school. She evacuated the clot, her fingers gentle, her focus absolute. Another flash. 8-year-old Aveline, sitting in a hospital herself after fainting from hunger because her mother worked 3 double shifts in a row. A doctor telling her, "You're smart. Don't waste that. People like you can change things." People like her. She hadn't known what he meant then. She did now. The bleed slowed. Pressure eased. The monitors stabilized. Aveline exhaled slowly, carefully removing the remaining clot fragments. "He's responding," the anesthesiologist murmured, relief softening his voice. "Dr. Cross, you might have just saved this kid's future." No, she was saving him. This was why she pushed through every insult, every doubter, every racist barrier pretending to be a rule. She was excellence. She was necessary. The final suture went in. She nodded to the scrub tech. "Let's close. He's going to make it." The staff exchanged looks of awe. But just as Aveline stepped back from the table, taking her first full breath in 30 brutal minutes, or doors slammed open so hard they rattled the room. Gareth Mallon stormed inside, face twisted with fury. "What have you done?" he shouted, voice cracking across the sterile air. "You're killing that child. Somebody stop her." The room froze. The child was stable. Aveline had saved him. But Gareth was about to turn her victory into a weapon. For a moment, no one moved. Gareth's shout echoed off the sterile tiles, bouncing between the bright surgical lights and the stunned faces of the staff. Aveline stood frozen, her gloves still bloody, her chest rising and falling in controlled breaths. She had saved the boy. Everyone in the room knew it. Yet Gareth's rage filled the space like a toxin. "What kind of butchery is this?" he barked, pointing at the monitors. "Look at his vitals. He's unstable. She's reckless. She shouldn't be anywhere near an operating room." Before Aveline could respond, the supervisor, Dr. Helene Bram, pushed through the doors. Small, stern, silver-haired, she carried authority like a weapon. "What is going on here?" she demanded. Gareth spun toward her. "She overstepped protocol. She took over my case." Dr. Bram didn't let him finish. She strode to the monitors, scanning the child's vitals, her face unreadable. The room held its breath. Then she turned to Gareth. "He is stable," she said sharply. "She did everything right." Gareth blinked, thrown off. "But there were rules." "The rule," Dr. Bram snapped, "is that we save the patient. Dr. Cross just did that." Murmurs rose around the table. A few nurses exchanged relieved glances. One stepped forward, voice soft but clear. "She kept him alive, Dr. Bram. If she hadn't taken over, he would have died in Tria." Another nurse added, "She was calm. She handled the pressure. She made all the right calls." Aveline swallowed hard, muscles trembling. She wasn't used to being defended, not publicly, not so clearly. For years, she'd learned to stand alone. But now, people were standing with her. Even Dr. Bram touched her shoulder gently. "Finish closing up. I'll handle whatever needs handling." The final moments of the surgery passed in a quiet hum of teamwork. When they wheeled the boy to recovery, Aveline walked beside the stretcher, still riding the storm of adrenaline and disbelief. Outside the waiting area, a woman paced frantically, eyes red, hair in disarray, hands shaking. The moment she saw Aveline, she rushed forward. "Are you the doctor who saved my son?" she cried. Aveline nodded softly. "He's stable now. The surgery went well. He'll need close monitoring, but he made it." The mother let out a strangled sob and threw her arms around Aveline. The hug was desperate, overflowing with fear, gratitude, and relief all at once. Aveline stiffened, caught off guard, then slowly hugged her back. "Thank you," the woman whispered against her shoulder. "Thank you for not giving up on my baby." Aveline closed her eyes, letting the words settle deep into the cracks the day had carved into her. This was why she fought. This was why she stayed. This was why no one would erase her. But peace never lasted long around Gareth Mallon. Later, as Aveline washed her hands in the staff lounge, her pager buzzed. New patient. Routine case. She nodded to herself and headed for the charting station. Then she froze. A medication order was already entered under her name. An incorrect dosage. Dangerous. Potentially fatal. And the signature line read, Aveline Cross, MD. But she hadn't touched the chart. Her stomach dropped. Someone had sabotaged the order. And she already knew exactly who. The crisis hit before Aveline could even tug on a fresh pair of gloves. Her next patient, a soft-spoken elderly man awaiting a simple cardiac adjustment, suddenly convulsed on the bed, monitors shrieking as his oxygen level plummeted. Nurses rushed in, stumbling over each other as alarms blared in overlapping tones. Aveline's heartbeat thundered in her ears. She scanned the chart, the 4-line, the medication bag. Something was wrong. Deeply wrong. "Bag the patient," she snapped, forcing her voice to cut through the chaos. The team scrambled to stabilize him, but the more they worked, the worse he got. His pulse dipped. His skin grayed. Panic swelled in the room. Aveline grabbed the medication vial Gareth had ordered earlier, something she had planned to double-check but hadn't yet reached. She froze. The label wasn't what she expected. The dosage wasn't merely wrong, it was lethal. Her stomach dropped. Before she could process the horror fully, the crash team burst in. Aveline fought alongside them, refusing to let the man slip away. Minutes stretched like hours. Finally, the patient's vitals began to crawl back from the edge. The room exhaled. Then someone whispered the question she feared most. "Who ordered that medication?" Aveline looked up. Half the eyes in the room pointed at her. "But I didn't," her voice cracked. Nurse Collins quietly stepped forward. "Doctor." The order was placed under your name. The blow struck like a physical force. Aveline swayed, gripping the counter to steady herself. I didn't place that order, she whispered. I wouldn't. But the room was shifting, trust thinning, suspicion thickening. Minutes later, she was escorted to the admin floor where stern faces waited around a long table. The board members, those who had already questioned her days earlier, stared at her as if they had been expecting this. Aveline, Dr. Gomez said gravely, folding her hands. Given the severity of the medication error, there was no error. Aveline cut in, voice shaking with bottled fury. Someone tampered with my login. Someone changed my orders. And you have proof? A board member asked, raising a judgmental brow. Aveline hesitated. The room closed in on her. She knew what they were thinking. A young black woman in a prestigious hospital, only recently involved in a high-risk surgery with controversy swirling around her name. Easy target. Convenient scapegoat. She pressed on anyway. There's security footage on the medication wing. It will show who accessed the system. But Gareth was already one step ahead. When security pulled the clips, the screens filled with static, glitches, empty hallways. The timestamps blacked out. Every second she needed, gone. Her pulse pounded. This footage was tampered with, she said. Someone is trying to frame me. Dr. Gomez exhaled. Until we complete a formal review, we have no choice. Aveline felt the world tilt. Aveline Dupree, the chair announced. You are suspended effective immediately. The words shattered something in her. She heard them echoing in her chest, hollow and cruel. She turned toward the hallway and stopped short. Gareth was standing there, leaning against the wall, smiling. Her badge is taken from her hand while Gareth watches, knowing he just destroyed her career. Aveline walked home through the cold Boston evening in a fog thicker than the winter air. Her badge, her identity, was gone. The hospital she had given everything to had cast her aside like she was disposable. She felt hollow, almost numb, as if her emotions had given up trying to keep up with the pain. Inside her apartment, the silence was too loud. She dropped her coat, sank onto the couch, and pressed her palms against her eyes. For the first time since med school, she let herself fall apart. The tears came in jolts, silent at first, then shaking, unraveling, unstoppable. Suspended. Accused. Humiliated. Her entire life's purpose felt like it was slipping through her fingers. She had trained for years to save people, to represent excellence, to show the world that a black woman could stand at the top of a field designed to keep her out. Now she was being painted as incompetent, dangerous, reckless. A knock rattled the door. She ignored it. Then it came again, firmer. Aveline, it's me. Her breath hitched. Her father. She hadn't seen him in years. Not since he had walked out without explanation, leaving her and her mother to struggle alone. She hesitated before opening the door, and there he stood, older, tired, shoulders bowed as if carrying a weight that never let up. I heard what happened, he said softly. And I needed to come. Aveline stepped back cautiously, letting him in but guarding herself. He took a slow breath. I know I don't deserve to be here, but you deserve the truth. Aveline folded her arms. The truth about what? Why you left? Why you abandoned us? His expression twisted with grief. I never left because I wanted to. I left because the hospital I worked at made it clear that if I stayed, you and your mother would suffer. Aveline froze. Her father swallowed hard. I faced things I couldn't shield you from. Doctors hiding my reports. Nurses misplacing my patient charts. Administrators whispering, waiting for me to fail. Someone even switched medications on my shift once. They blamed me. His voice cracked. The same system that's hurting you now, it nearly killed me. Aveline felt the floor tilt beneath her. Why didn't you fight? I did, he said. But fighting alone in a system built to break you. He shook his head. I thought leaving would keep you safe. I thought if I stepped away, you and your mother would have a chance without my shadow destroying it. The pain in his eyes was real. Raw. Human. Before she could answer, her mother arrived, bursting through the door with worry written all over her face. She scanned Aveline's red eyes, the heavy atmosphere, and pulled her daughter into her arms. You are not done, her mother whispered fiercely into her ear. You hear me? They don't get to bury you. You fight, not because they deserve your brilliance, but because you earned every inch of it. Aveline pressed her forehead to her mother's shoulder, breathing shakily. Her father stepped closer. You come from strength. Not just mine. Not just hers. Yours. And it's time you stop letting them write your story. For the first time since the suspension, something warm flickered inside her. Anger, yes, but also resolve. But just as that spark grew, her phone buzzed. Then buzzed again. Then again. She glanced down. News alerts. Headlines. Her face. Her name. And the words in bold. Suspended surgeon under investigation. Sources claim she is dangerous. Aveline's reputation is now being destroyed publicly, before she even has a chance to defend herself. Aveline woke to chaos. Her phone vibrated nonstop, notifications stacking faster than she could swipe them away. Someone had posted the leaked, dangerous surgeon headline on a major medical forum, and within minutes, it spread across social media like wildfire. Comments flooded her screen. She should lose her license. Affirmative action higher. I wouldn't let her near a pet, let alone a child. She dropped the phone as if it burned her. It didn't stop. It only grew. Twitter attacks. Reddit threads dissecting her career. An influencer doctor making a reaction video titled, "The Problem with Surgeons Like Her." It was like the world had decided she was guilty before she could even speak. By mid-morning, reporters were outside her apartment building. Cameras angled upward, zoomed in on her windows, waiting for her to step outside. Aveline stayed back from the blinds, hands trembling. Then her email pinged. A statement from the hospital. She opened it, teeth clenched. The message was slick, polished, and cold. Beacon Children's Hospital takes patient safety seriously. We are actively cooperating with authorities to review Dr. Aveline's actions. Our thoughts are with the family affected. No defense. No clarity. Not even a hint that she was suspended because of accusations, not facts. They had thrown her to the wolves. Aveline sank onto the couch. Her chest felt tight, thick with frustration, fear, and betrayal. The institution she had given her life to was using her as a shield to protect their image. Gareth was probably somewhere smirking, watching the fallout unfold exactly as he wanted. Her mind spun. Was this how they had treated her father too? Quietly destroying him until he vanished on his own? She covered her face with her hands, breathing slowly. If she unraveled now, she knew Gareth would win. She needed to think, to strategize, to understand who was working against her and why. Hours passed in a blur of ringing phones, email alerts, and news updates. The noise never stopped. It felt like the world was pressing its palm over her mouth, trying to silence her. Late in the evening, after her mother convinced reporters to leave the hallway, Aveline finally stepped into her bedroom and closed the door. For the first time that day, there was quiet. Aveline sat on the floor, back against her bed. She let her mind go still. She remembered her childhood nights, reading anatomy books beside her mother's folded laundry, dreaming about surgeries she would one day perform. She remembered the first time she held a scalpel in med school, her hands shaking, knowing she had found her calling. She had climbed too far, worked too hard, to let someone like Gareth take her down. Her phone rang again. Unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. A voice, distorted, disguised, spoke quietly. "Dr. Aveline, you don't know me, but I know what's being done to you, and I know who's doing it." Aveline's heartbeat kicked up. "What are you talking about?" she demanded. "It's Gareth," the voice said. "He's hiding something. Something big. Something no one at the hospital would ever imagine." Aveline gripped the phone. "Who are you? You don't need my name. You just need to know he has a secret, one he'll do anything to protect." Aveline's breath shortened. "What secret?" There was a pause, a long, eerie silence. Then the voice whispered, "He knows you saved his child years ago." The line went dead. Aveline is left stunned, realizing Gareth's hatred may be rooted in a past connection she never even knew existed.